Hello everyone, I'm Kavita Mehra, Managing Director and Key Founder with MindSkills. I come with more than 45 years of experience and 25 years expertise in the training arena. The lockdown was trying times for all. It gave us a lot of time to introspect. We quickly adapted to changes with time, and we are here to remodel our structure of work and restore our style of work from platform of learning with newer and relevant offerings post-pandemic. At this crucial time, to stay engaged and boost morale, we introduced the Learning Cafe series to grow, ideate, connect, and learn. And we had eminent speakers, directors, and CEOs from various diverse industries like manufacturing, auto industry, hospitality, retail, banking and financial services, IT, and healthcare. They shared insights which were phenomenal. They taught us how to cope with the pandemic and introduced us to the new normal way of life. I hope all of you enjoyed the leadership sessions at MindSkills like my team and I did. Thank you, stay safe, and good luck to the new way of life. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Learning Cafe series at MindSkills. Our speaker for today is Vice Chairman and Joint Managing Director of Allofic Industries Limited, Mr. K.D. Sani, where he has completed over 40 years in a business which is family owned for 70 years. The company is engaged in the manufacture of filters and lubricants. They are leaders in the industry, and the company has world-class manufacturing processes using the best materials and machines available and possible. The company has achieved great insights under the leadership of Mr. Sani. He is also a philanthropist by nature and runs many NGOs for the welfare of the underprivileged. He is an ardent believer of nature and has been involved in several green projects. We welcome you to our cafe today. Over to you, Mickey.
Thank you, Kavita, and thank you for the introduction. You know, this situation, COVID situation, is so unique. One could never have imagined this ever happening. It has happened worldwide. Uh, Everybody is affected. Nobody knows when the end is going to come. There's no prevention. There's no cure. And it's something like the whole world has now come is on a pause button. And when you are on a pause button, you know, what is the first thing when this all happened about 2 months ago when the lockdown was announced? uh, the first reaction was that, okay, you know, chutti, you're at home and you're sitting there. 1 week of that was you know, enjoying yourself with your family. After all, it was the first time that you are there with at family. Normally one goes out, you know, for a holiday, but then after 1 week you realize that, you know, how much of TV serials can you watch? It's Now it's time to really sit down and start acting and start, you know, doing something on it. So that's the time when you, from the pause button, one was prompted to think of pressing the reset, you know, reset button. Which, what does reset mean? Basically, any crisis always triggers a change, and the reset means that, you know, the world has to change, things have to change, and how your businesses have to change. Now, let me tell you something. I'm no Jyotish, so I'm not going to be boring you with figures like the GDP is going to shrink by so much, or the market is going to go down, and this is what is going to happen, and this that. It's it's a question of survival today, and when, you know, you have to think of survival, one has to, rather than just sit down and wait for something for the government to do. I think the Prime Minister has very aptly put it, Atmanirbhar. So one has to be self-reliant. You have to think of various kind of strategies, various kind of action plans, so as to how to go about when things really open up and whether they are going to be normal. So the revival of the economy, first of all, is going to be a very big challenge for everybody. Business sentiments at the moment are low. Demand is also going to be very weak, and one may also see the upsides, like the rural development is going to be there because of the digitalization and the reach of the internet and the various uh, digital platforms in the rural areas. So things may look up there, but when we talk of the reset, basically it means that when things open, one must have kind of very flexibility in the strategies. Have a plan A, have a plan B, have a plan C, or even a plan D for that matter, because we don't know. The future is so unpredictable. We don't really know that what's going to happen tomorrow. So based on that, one must have the agility. One must have be able to change quickly and adapt to the situation what is required. Now, the very first uh, thing that comes, and which is going to be a challenge, and which is going to be where a lot of thought has to be put, is the human angle, the employees of the company. Their morals are low, their mental health has to be seen. There are a lot of insecurities which are there. So one has to look at that. One has to look at the various SOPs, their safety angle, have the SOPs, the PPEs in place, and at the same time, the motivation has to be done for each one of them. Now, for that, in our company, we started a system of a daily morning video meet of the various HODs and the plant heads. So we would take stock of, okay, what is happening, how their families are, how everything else is happening, is everybody okay, and is all the things are going fine. Even at the time when we were closed, we were yet discussing all this, and this was a very important thing. The next thing, what needs to be done, because work from home is going to be the order of the day, and we classified all our employees into three categories: A, B, and C. A were the one who were directly related to production. They were the ones who would, whose presence is absolutely necessary in order for operations to take place. B were the ones that we could very well say could come in partially, maybe 3-4 times a week, and rest of the times they work from home. And C were the ones whom we said that they're the ones that can very well afford to be home, because this way we could also have social distancing in the office, and so on. I, by the way, happen to be classified under the C category in my company. So the benefits of work from home are also very much there, that one does not have to uh, go through the stress of daily commuting. Besides the cost, there's again the flexibility of timings. One can go and go according to the timing board, whichever way that you can. So one has to be innovative, one has to be imaginative, one has to think out of the box, and so as to how the work from home is going to be done. And each company has to form its own work from home policy, but it definitely is the order of the day, and that's what it has to be. uh, Besides this, the all the processes have to be re-looked into. There has to be less human intervention in each of the processes that we have. We have to automate processes, whether they are in the office or they are in production. Uh, Production, of course, one has to go in for low-cost automation. One has to go in for AI, IoT, Industry 4.0. These are the jargons which were being used earlier. A lot of times, and but then now the time has come really to go in for their implementation. It's only speeded up the process. So this is one, and as far as the working is concerned, uh, it's also important that matrix working has to be adopted instead of the linear working. What does that mean? Now, it means basically that one has to go in for multitasking. Different processes in the office, different processes in the manufacturing. You have to go in for multitasking, and I always give that example of visiting various restaurants, abroad, and one would see that uh, besides the cook, there's only one person there, and he's the one who greets you, who takes you onto the table, who takes your order, who comes and serves you, and also prepares your bill, and finally opens the door for you, seeing you off. So that is multitasking. But in India, unfortunately, we had the luxury of abundance of labor, cheap labor. So we had several people, one person doing only one job. But now that has to change. People have to do multitasking, and that's extremely important now for us in the times to come. Uh, Cost optimization is of extreme importance once again, because one has lost a lot in the during the lockdown period. All the balance sheets are going to be looking not so good. So it's important to save on costs. Only go in for those kind of costs which are really necessary, which are important. But one has to cut the flab. Indians by nature have been like not wasteful. Uh, that's how traditionally we have been. But yes, one has to look at things further into cutting of costs. Uh, they also say, and that's the buzzword now, cash is king. And that really is important, because with inflows being close to nothing, during the lockdown period, or even, the first quarter, more or less. So, and the fixed expenditure already being incurred, uh, watching your liquidity, watching your cash flow is extremely important at this point of time. One has to also make, there are various tools. In our company, again, we do a weekly projected cash flow. We've been following this since a very long time. Look at the variance. We were doing monthly cash flow, and now we started doing weekly cash flow now. But do that, look at the variance, and then watch it further. And at the same time, we do a CCC, cash conversion cycle. You see that how many days is your cash, you're able to convert your cash back into, from raw material to sales to back into cash. So that's an important thing to watch. Uh, Another thing is to watch is the your capital expenditure. Any kind of capital expenditure is definitely to be. Uh, One has to see that, think 10 times before really incurring that, and whatever that is necessary. And more or less, one should stick to the core business. A lot of time, people at this point of time tend to, you know, try to diversify into other things. Unless your business is outlook is really bad, try to sit over the money that you have, and that is the best solution. Now, as far as uh, sales are concerned, what we have done in our company is made a very radical change of contactless selling, which means that our entire workforce of about 70-75% is going to be sitting at home. They're going to be talking to the customers on video chats, on video calls, and it, so it kind of also the positive thing is that you tend to save on the travel expenses, but the downside is that one has to also make enough, create enough interest so that these calls are not, they don't eventually become nuisance calls like what we get from the excuse me, from the various call centers and people, disturbing you at all times. So it's important to have some kind of a customer engagement programs so that whenever you call them, you are, your call is welcomed, and also at the same time, one has to be at various levels of the customer. One has to be in contact with them. So that's an important thing. We've created several customer and employee engagement apps, and where we communicate to them on a regular basis. We have different kind of programs running where we have them engage, create some kind of an interest, so that it becomes interesting and not a very boring kind of a thing. The world is definitely moving towards digitalization. Earlier the various work from home concept, or even video calls and all those, these were always there. But then there was inertia. There was always that thing that, okay, time, देख लेंगे, कर लेंगे, जब कभी, whenever required, we'll do it. But it, but so this lockdown has prompted us to think, and that's a very major change that is really happening today, which is the, the digital work. But at the same time, digital working from home, digitalization has its own negatives too, and I want to caution that this becomes a very, it becomes a heaven for the hackers. One has to be very, very cautious about data security at this time, cyber attacks, because those are very much on the increase. Work from home, when you are implementing it, at that time, one tends to compromise on the various securities, and you are exposed to the all kinds of ransomware and various kinds of data thefts and all those kind of things. And that's something which one has to really take care of, and it's important. On the personal front, again, while the lockdown is still there, or even talking about the past 2 months or so, it's important that while we've been at home, but or whatever the time that is left, it's important to think. It's important to learn. Talking about myself personally, one thing which I have learned to do is I've attended a lot of webinars, more than about 40 webinars in the past 2 months. And there's a lot of learning. I'm not saying that I grasp everything, whatever that I attended, but there's a lot of learning, there's a lot of thinking. Being at home, one also, I felt a lot healthier, a lot fitter. I was exercising, I was eating right, and I had a lot of time. I was working from 9:30 to 6:30, but then that was the work time. But at the end of the day, when I went to bed, I had a deep sense of accomplishment that I've achieved a lot, which in normal days I did not really have, because one was busy with the hustle and bustle, going to the office, coming back, traveling, this, that. But here there was a deep sense of accomplishment, and at the same time I had a lot of time for myself, my family, my grandkids. So it was really good. One thing which normally one misses is the socializing part, but then we also found a way out. Every day I would have a video chat with my friends. Uh, Social distancing is there and to be practiced, and it's going to be there for a very long time. But nothing prevents us from distant socializing. So we would, meet every day and do cheers over drinks and, have all the fun. So in the end, also I want to say that please take care of yourself. Once things open up, it does not mean that Corona is going to go away. Corona is going to stay. So once things open up, please don't run to the nearest pubs or the clubs or the nearest golf course around. Please stay indoors and take care of yourself and your family. I'll end with a saying that the bend in the road is not the end in the road. The bend in the road is not the end in the road unless you fail to take the turn. Thank you very much. And I'm open for questions.
Thank you very much. Excellent session, very insightful. Reset button after pause and having a plan A, B, C all in place. What I gathered was must be flexible, think out of the box. And something which was really nice was very few people I've heard, thinking and talking about the people who work for you. And even during the lockout, your concern was to reach out to all your factory workers and your employees. And I found employee engagement was at its highest. And, they came forward for you, which is very, very important, especially now when you hear about so much of contract laborers and people suffering. That's fantastic. Let us ask the forum to come up with their questions. Has anybody posted in the chat?
Suman, can I ask a question? Suman here.
Sure.
So good evening, sir. Sir, this is a question that I have. How do we restructure our Indian economic infrastructure?
You're asking the wrong person. I mean,
no, but you must be thinking something.
Restructuring the Indian infrastructure.
Any ideas you have?
No, there are a whole lot of things. Whenever we we travel abroad, we see, and that's the first question they always ask. That we Indians are nowhere less to what the people as far as the skills are concerned. We are far ahead of them. In terms of technology, we are far ahead of them. But so where are we lacking? And well, there are various constraints which are there. I'm sure the people at the Helm of Affairs also have several constraints, and so that's something. But I'm very optimistic. Things are going to get better, and each time whenever there's a crisis, we always come back. We bounce back in a much better way. So I'm kind of optimistic about that.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Can we have some more questions? We have a large community from the Cambridge School, so let us hear Mr. Sunil Arora and others also. Hema, can I have a question from you, please? And who's going to ask?
Hi, Mickey. How are you? You spoke very well. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you. I can hear you well.
Of course, you spoke very well. And as expected, you are in the category C. And there's absolutely no doubt about it. But yes, what you said is absolutely to the point. And that is what is required in today's world, actually. This virus is going to stay for a long time, and you have to learn to live with it. There's no way we can stop working. I really don't want to ask any question from you, but I 100% agree with you. Whatever you said is absolutely to the point. I really appreciate the way you explained it. Great work, Mickey. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
I think you've had the people so mesmerized with your simple talking that there's more silence than questioning today.
Otherwise, we have 10, 12 questions all there. So I'm still waiting for some people to come up. Savita, you have a question to put across?
Which industries do you think are the worst affected by this? Worst affected? I know all of us are, but what do you think is the worst, and which industry do you think will pick up the fastest?
The hospitality is definitely worst affected
And travel.
because hospitality and travel. So that industry is definitely greatly affected at this moment of time. But what would pick up? I, I cannot say. I'm optimistic about the auto sector as well. I'm very much optimistic. Even in the auto sector, if not the new cars, but the used cars business is going to go up. The auto component aftermarket business is going to go up. So that, of course, I'm very much optimistic about. Besides that, I mean, IT industry, it's great going at this time for pharma companies, for PPE manufacturers, it's great going. But then that's all a temporary phase. It's not going to stay for long. I mean, a lot of people have been asking me questions that you make masks. Why don't you make them? We did bring masks earlier, but those were all for free distribution. But and then internally, we have also been discussing that let's start making masks. Let's start doing something here. Unfortunately, that's not because there's so many people who got into it that I don't think that's an area which would interest us. What would really be of interest is something which is, of high tech. Things which are, which filters, air purifiers, which control the virus, for example. So, and we're already working on it. So those products are the ones which are of interest. But besides that, other industries, it's very difficult to predict that what would go up, whether the construction industry is going to go up or this would go up. It's very, very difficult to predict because this is a unique situation, never happened before. We don't know when it's going to end.
And how do you think will the prices of products go up since it has been a lockdown for like more than 2 months now? You think people are going to splurge prices in companies to sell it to get that money that they lost, or is it all going to come down, to sell all that stock and then again pick up? What do you think is going to happen?
The basic economics of demand and supply is going to take place. So,
Okay.
for some products, prices may go up where the supply is not there. During this lockdown, some of the grocery items we've been buying much above the MRP because of the crisis.
Right.
But and once the economy opens up, if the supply is huge, the inventories are huge, then obviously to liquidate the inventory, the stocks, companies would offer promotions.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much.
Another question, an automobile sector is going to move slow. What will be the SME strategy for industries related with auto sector?
The automotive sector, when you say auto sector, we're basically talking about companies who are manufacturers of vehicles, because there's also the auto component sector. Now, auto component sector would not necessarily go the same way as what other companies are doing. The best way here, I would say, is to de-risk your strategies. I mean, one way that we have done in our company is to have an equal distribution of OEM sales, aftermarket sales, and exports. 33, and 33% of our turnover is OEM, 33% is aftermarket, 33 is exports. So that if any sector that really goes down, The others are not there really. So you're kind of insulated from the market fluctuations. That's one way to do it. But looking at your own industry, there's no general hard and fast rule. There's no rule as such. But the auto industry has always seen ups and downs. And we've been in the down since a pretty long time. And I think the future for small cars is definitely there because of social distancing. Public transportation may, people may start avoiding that and going for the used cars or even two-wheelers or small cars, buying new small cars. One would see a increase in demand as far as those are concerned. The affected, concerned SMEs along with it have to go on and have to have some kind of a de-risking plan of their own.
Okay. We have a question from Ram Prakash.
yes.
Please
सर
go
मैं
ahead.
राजीव अग्रवाल मुरादाबाद से और एलोफिक के साथ लगभग 22 साल से काम कर रहा हूँ डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन में। तो मैं आपकी थोड़ी राय जानना चाहता था कि अभी ये साल हमारा कैसे हम लोग फाइनेंस पे रखें ध्यान, कितना स्टॉक रखें, कम रखें या उसी लेवल पे ही रखने दें। तो आपकी थोड़ी एडवाइस हो जाए तो सबके लिए बेहतर होगा।
देखिए, ये सवाल आपके साथ मैं अलग से बात करूंगा, पर बाय एंड लार्ज आपकी सिचुएशन जो है वो कुछ फर्क है, बट जनरली इस फोरम में मैं वही जवाब दूंगा कि लिक्विडिटी इज द किंग एंड स्टॉक वही रखना चाहिए जो आप इमीडिएटली जिसको कन्वर्ट करके वापस कैश में आप ला सकें। एंड बट द मोर इम्पोर्टेंट थिंग हियर इज कि आप जो भी अपने कस्टमर्स को क्रेडिट देते हैं वो थोड़ा सा कंट्रोल कीजिए। What the credit earlier, what one would give to the customers, कई डिस्ट्रीब्यूटर्स हमारे अनलिमिटेड क्रेडिट भी दे देते थे, वो अगर कंट्रोल नहीं किया तो one would get into trouble. तो उस चीज को कंट्रोल करना बहुत जरूरी है।
Any more questions, Savita?
No, nothing
Yeah.
that I see type. Yeah.
Yeah, this is Inderjeet Oberoi here. I would like to ask Mr. Sahni, given the present calamity that we are facing world over, presumably it's because of the pressure on environment. So my question is, how can automobile industry, especially in the production of aftermarket parts, help reduce the carbon impact or the environment protection step by step? Have you thought anything about it by changing any methods of production or maybe converting few things which are being made by heating and not being heated, or there is no less emission in it? What's your point of view? Or maybe recycling of oil. So what's your point of view on that?
You see, as far as the OEM products are concerned, now this has to flow in from the vehicle manufacturer. So they have to do the designing. There are, a lot of several green projects that we are involved with these OEMs, and switching over from BS4 to BS6 itself was a challenge. And besides this, there are other, innovative products which are coming up. People are talking about EVs, although I don't really care much about them. But yes, people are talking about that as well. At the end of the day, as far as aftermarket parts are concerned, I mean, the simple thing is that a spurious or a poor quality part will always add to the carbon footprint. It will always add to the costs. It will always add to the carbon footprint. So the more important thing here is, as long as one goes in for the right quality aftermarket part and not the spurious ones, you are yourself in any case contributing to this. So and whatever that comes in or is being designed at the OEM level, unfortunately I cannot talk about it here, but yes, those are there are enough work is being done at the OEM level to transition to greener products.
Thank you. Thank you.
Hi, this is Kavita. I don't have a question. I think Mr. Sani has put it across very beautifully, all the problems and the solutions. I just wanted to add in terms of the organizations which can have a slight advantage. I would say one of the industries, e-learning, from the technology perspective, because I think that's picking up largely, I think everywhere, even the schools, even the universities, they are adapting to this e-learning system. I think the IT industries, whoever are in the enterprise e-learning space, they are in a comfortable situation. It's just that they need to be open in the market to hit the market. So that's something that which I wanted to add.
Absolutely, I agree with you, because that's what the order of the day is. Today, e-learning, because without, we have a 11-year-old at home, and her classes are being conducted by her school every day on the digital platform. So there's a lot of digitalization going on. So when I said digitalization, I did not mean only for industries. I meant for all businesses. So it's only that you have to think differently, so that you are able to eventually, see that how it can cover my industry. Now, whether you do it whichever way that suits you the best, that's up to you.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. An excellent session. Dipti, are you ready for the photo shoot of everyone? Please open your windows and we'll take a picture with Mr. Sani.
Yes, ready.
Dipti, you've taken?
Yeah, just one more. Thank you. Take it.
Thank you. Thank you. Excellent session and so many takeaways for everyone. Thank you all for being here today and making it so special. Thanks.
Thank you very much, and be safe.
Thank you.
Thank you, Pavisha. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.